be most annoyed to know you're staying on to the end of the week at the same hour.
Oh, I don't care about Uncle Jack. Or anybody in the world for that matter. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
Well, of course, you silly boy. We've been engaged for the past 3 months.
The last 3 months?
Yes. It will be 3 months on Thursday.
Oh, but how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack confessed to us that he had another brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, became chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And a man who's much talked about, of course, is very attractive. And I dare say it was foolish of me, Ernest, but I fell in love with you.
Oh, darling. And when was the engagement?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or other. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear old oak tree here. The next day, I went out and bought this ring in your name, and this bangle, which true lovers not, I promise always to wear.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes. You have awfully good taste, Ernest. It's one of the excuses I give for your leading such a bad life. And in this box, this is where I keep all of your letters.
My letters? But my own sweet Cecily, I haven't written you any letters.
Well, you hardly need to remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well I was forced to write them myself. I wrote always 3 times a week and sometimes oftener.
Oh, do let me read them, Cecily.
Oh, that could possibly. It would make you far too conceited. The one you wrote me after I'd broken off the engagement was so beautiful and so badly spelled. I can hardly read it now without crying.
So engagement had broken off.
Yes, on the 22nd of last March. You can read the entry if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
Why on earth did you break it off? What I had done nothing, Cecily. I'm very much hurt indeed to hear you broke it off, particularly when the weather was so charming.
It would hardly have been a very serious engagement if it hadn't have been broken off at least once. Besides, I forgave you before the week was out.
Oh, my sweet little angel.
Oh, you dear romantic boy. Your hair does come naturally, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, a little help from others.
I am glad.
You'll never break off our engagement again, will you, Cecily?
Oh, well, I don't think I could now that I've actually met you. Besides, there is always the question of your name.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, you mustn't laugh at me, darling. It has always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone whose name was Ernest. Something about that name just inspires such confidence, and I pity any poor married woman whose husband's name is not Ernest.
You need to say, had I some other name you could not love?
But what name?
Oh, any name you like, Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name of Algernon.
My sweet, loving little darling, I really can't see why you should object to the name of Algernon. It's not a bad name at all. It is rather an aristocratic name. I mean, half the chaps that get into the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But seriously, Cecily, my name was Algie. Please, you like me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character. But I fear I would not be able to give you my undivided attention.
You're right to hear it, I suppose. Thoroughly experienced in the ceremonies and rites of the church?
Ah, yes. Dr. Chasuble is a most learned man. He's never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must see one of the most important christening. And most important business.
Oh.
I shan't be away for more than half an hour.
Well, considering that you've only just met me, and we've been engaged since February last, I think it rather hard of you to leave me for such a long a period as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
Oh, darling. I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I do like his hair so much. I must write down his proposal in my diary.
Jack and Algernon eat muffins calmly in the garden, whilst disputing over who should be christened as.
This ghastly set of affairs is what you call bunburying, I suppose.
And what a wonderful Bunbury it was. The most wonderful Bunbury I have had in my entire life.
But I give you absolutely no right to Bunbury here.
That's absurd. One may Bunbury, but one wishes to Bunbury. Every serious Bunburyist knows this.
Serious Bunburyist, good heavens.
Well, one must be serious about something if one wishes to have any amusement out of life. I happen to be serious about Bunburying. What you are serious about, I don't have the faintest idea. Everything, I should think. You have an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I get out of this whole wretched business is that your good friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You weren't about to run up and down the country quite as often as you used to do. And a very good thing, too.
Your brother is a little off carrot, isn't he, Jack? And you can no longer be off to London quite so frequently as your wicked custom allowed, and not a bad thing either.
And as for your conduct with Miss Cardew, your taking in such a sweet, innocent girl like that is, well, quite not right. And to say nothing of the fact she is my ward.
I can see no possible defence for you deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I want to engage to Gwendolen. I love her.
I simply wish to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There's absolutely no chance of you and Miss Fairfax getting married.
I don't think there's much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
But that is no business of yours.
And if it was, I wouldn't talk about it. It is very vulgar when one talks about one's business. Only stockbrokers do it, people like that, and then merely at dinner parties.
How can you sit there so calmly eating muffins when we are in this horrible trouble? Perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. I get on my guts. No. One should always eat muffins rather calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
Well, I said it's perfectly heartless.
When I'm in trouble, eating is the only thing that will console me, and when I'm in very great trouble, as anybody who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except food and drink. Presently, I'm eating muffins because I'm unhappy. Besides, I am particularly fond of muffins.
There's no reason to eat them in that greedy manner.
Jack, I wish you would have a tea cake instead. I don't like tea cakes.
You'd think a man could eat his own muffins in his own garden.
You just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
No, I said it was perfectly heartless of you to eat muffins. That is an entirely different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
However, I wish you would go.
You wish me to go? Not my dinner. I never leave but my dinner. Nobody's, only vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made an appointment with Dr. Chowsworth to be christened at 6:15 under the name of Ernest.
My dear fellow, I wish you would give up that nonsense. I made an appointment with Dr. Chowsworth this morning, and I have arranged to be christened under the name of Ernest at 5:30 this afternoon. And I will naturally take the name Ernest. Gwendolen would wish it. You have already been christened.
Yes, but I have not been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Quite so I know my constitution can stand it. If you are not quite sure about your ever having been christened, then I must say, Jack, I think it's rather dangerous you venturing down that road now. Need I remind you that somebody very closely connected with you was taken aback in Paris this week with a severe chill?
Oh, yes, but you said that wasn't hereditary.
It used to be, but I dare say it is now. Science is making wonderful improvements in these things.
Nonsense, you're always talking nonsense.
Jack, you like the muffins again. I wish you would stop. I told you I'm particularly fond of muffins.
But I don't like tea cakes.
Then why on earth would you have tea cakes served to your guests? It's your ideas of hospitality.
Algernon, I wish you would go. I've already asked you to leave. Please go.
But I haven't finished my tea yet, and there are still some muffins in it.
Pray, let me introduce myself to you. I'm Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew, what a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me so much after we've known each other such a comparatively short time. Pray, sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
Then that is all quite settled, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this may be a favourite opportunity for mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You've never heard of Papa, I suppose?
I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I am glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that is quite as it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for a man, and once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mamma's views on education are remarkably strict. It has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. It's part of my system. So do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You were here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also.
No, I have no mother. Nor any relations for that matter.
Indeed.
My guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I'm Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh, it is strange. He never mentioned to me he had a ward. How secret of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I am not sure how the news inspires me with feelings of mixed delight. Cecily, I am very fond of you. I've liked you ever since I met you, but I feel bound to state that now I know you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish that you were, well, a little older than you seem to be, and not quite so alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Oh, pray do. I always think that when anyone ever has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candour, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 or more than unusually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honour. Disloyalty to him would be as impossible as deception. But even men of the noblest moral character are extremely susceptible to the influences of the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, supplies us with many painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
But it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my ward. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me he had a brother.
Oh, I'm afraid to say they have not been on good terms for a long time.
That accounts for it. And now that you come to think of it, I have never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Oh, Cecily, you have lifted the load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. Of course, you are quite sure that it's not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, there, Miss Gwendolyn. I see no reason to make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, I think there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
Well, it's certainly very curious. For he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. I'm so sorry, dear Cecily, if the news comes of any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I have the bright claim.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if it has caused you any mental or physical anguish. but I feel bound to point out that since he proposed to you first, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has entrapped himself into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I will never reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I instruct Ernest into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of malice. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I'm glad to say that I have never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been widely different.
Would you like tea as normal, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh yes, a great many. From one of the top of the hills quite close, one can see 5 counties.
Oh, 5 counties. I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there was